On the program, the conversation starting now is going to focus on the insurance industry. That's a very big potential sector of the economy that has been largely untapped. And I'll be speaking to an operator and the Chief Operating Officer for ICO Insurance PLC, Mr. Tunde Fajemiruku, and we'll be looking at the issues, challenges, and opportunities in the insurance sector. Good morning, Mr. Fajemiruku, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
So, insurance sector. This sector has been one that has constantly come up, because of the potentials that a lot of people see in it. But let's start with your assessment. In the last 1 year of the sector, it's been mixed, but most actually say that the sector has been underpriced. How would you react to that?
Yeah, I believe that's true. There's been a lot of changes since MDRI in 2009, which are just coming into effect now. Last year particularly, we've seen a lot of growth in the life business, especially around annuity, retirement services. In the non-life business, there's a lot of strain in terms of the rates, so premium volumes are a bit flat. Around group life, you're seeing slight growth as well, also driven by regulation. Claims payments, for example, are getting a bit more, are getting better by most insurance industries. Reason being, IFRS was deployed a few years ago, which cleared out receivables and made insurance companies clearer in terms of their balance sheets. Now you can completely calculate the free cash flow that any insurance company has to actually pay your claims, as well as solvency. There's been a lot of strength around deploying a lot of regulation around solvency for insurance companies. In terms of the pricing, what you see is I think a lot of the investing public have a problem with the brand, public trust, as well as awareness. There's also a problem with, I would say, enforcement of policies. I believe, though, especially with the valuations that are being bought currently in the industry, for example, the access buy of Mansard, I think that's showing the potential of the industry for the future. ICO ourselves, yes, you see that compared to our book value, we're trading below. But in the next few years, you see a big difference.
Okay, before we get to the expectations going forward, let me take you back on the issues you raised are issues that have always been there. Public trust and lack of awareness. This is 2015. Why do we still have issues with public trust and awareness? Because coming from recapitalization, a lot of insurance companies understood what markets they were coming into. And so one would expect, that the plans would be, towards ensuring that the public trust issue is dealt with and awareness stepped up.
Well, last year, the stakeholders in the insurance industry came together and they put together about 4 plans or 4 objectives. The first one was to enforce compulsory insurance. Right. The second is to deliver jobs and increase skills and training. The third is to build public trust and awareness. And the fourth item is to increase the access of insurance. If you look at the structure of insurance today, it's not changed for the past 5 years. What I mean by that is most of the insurance today is still corporate driven. Where the opportunities lie is in retail. Now, what is happening is everyone is going to the corporate sector. That's where you can get your volumes. Of course, your shareholders and so on will always have to put pressure on you to deliver profits. So growing a retail strategy takes some time, which sometimes shareholders might not have the time for you to build up that strategy. Building up a retail strategy requires a lot more investment in advertising, marketing campaigns, public awareness, and a lot of trust building, which I believe that with the corporate clients, you find that there's a lot of expertise, so they understand insurance. So this thrust right now with the growth to increase the gross written premium, as well as policyholders over the next few years, which I'll probably mention later, is going to, I think, or actually push the insurance company to invest a lot more in advertising, marketing campaigns, also in the typical insurance small prints in the policy documents, things like that are going to be reviewed. And there will be advisory boards to actually look at those things for the entire
Let's
industry.
talk about retail strategy. A number of insurance companies, especially ICO, I know, that is trying to see how they can actually boost this aspect, because as you rightly mentioned, a lot of insurance companies focus mostly on corporates,
Yes.
but we have a larger number outside of the corporate industry.
Indeed.
So a clear strategy, yes, but how much success are you expecting to record with this kind of strategy?
I think for the survival of the industry, I think it's absolutely imperative that it's actually a success. There are several things that will guide someone to buy insurance: your customer need, matching that to your need, the cost, as well as enforcement. Right?
And then the premiums after.
Of course, which is the cost. But what you find is that even in developed markets, people won't buy motor insurance if they're not forced to do it. Now, we've had various initiatives in the market, for example, NIID, which is supposed to authenticate the type of insurance you're buying for your motor insurance. Now, when you look at all these aspects, we've analyzed the industry, we've looked at the access to insurance. In Nigeria, you have less than 0.1% by 1,000 citizens.
But is it really easy to access insurance?
I believe that for us, I can speak for ICO, I believe for us we have, because we have a large agency force. But you find that a lot of people are just starting to deploy agency forces in play today. And the research shows that there's not enough. So access needs to be omni-channel or multi-channel, which will include online, mobile. Of course, if you look at Nigeria, you have about 125 million subscribers. About 75 to 80% of that are mobile users, right, in terms of internet users. About a percentage of that is between 18 and 40. So it tells you that you probably have to look at the access a bit differently for the demographics for the country we're in. And I think right now, the regulation as well as the stakeholders are beginning to look at this challenge a bit differently. Retail, for example, going back to MDRI, there were about 4 areas that MDRI was supposed to tackle. The first as well was to enforce compulsory insurance. Compulsory insurance includes group life, occupiers liability, employers liability, building under construction, healthcare, professional indemnity, and motor third party. The other part was to sanitize and modernize the agency force. The third one was to eradicate fake institutions that sell fake policies. And the fourth is risk-based supervision. If you look at those 4 areas, clearly, even with the regulator, they're seeing clearly the growth. The only way you can reach the customers through agencies, through these various channels, your tablet, for example, your mobile phone, as well as even call centers.
So looking at that strategy now, and looking at the number of insured adults we have in Nigeria, in my intro I talked about it, about 1% of Nigerian adults are insured. That strategy has to kick off very soon. And I know you talked about the fact that, yes, your company is actually working towards that, but it's not just a one-man show.
No, it's not.
The insurance industry is a very large one, and the potential is enormous.
Sure.
Now, if we see, okay, looking at the contribution, for instance, to GDP, before the rebasing was 0.7%, post-rebasing we're seeing 0.6%, and then the number of insured is about just 1%. It's really not encouraging. So, more than ever now, what does the regulator need to do? Is it a regulatory thing, or is it an operational thing for operators in the industry to step up their game?
Very good question. Actually, the statistics show is up actually about 0.4. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I mean, the percentage is actually 0.4. But the truth is, there's been a lot of dialogue with the stakeholders, that's insurance operators, carriers, as well as brokers, agents, and the regulator, including the Ministry of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of Economy. There was a forum in December last year where there were about 3 aspirations that the government, as well as the stakeholders, like to achieve. The first one is to grow gross written premium from 300 billion, which is the market size as of 2013, to 1 trillion in 3 years. The second is to grow policyholders from 3 million to 10 million in 3 years. The third is to deliver jobs from 30,000 to 100,000 in 3 years. Now, going back to the 4-point plan, again, the way we're going to achieve that is really by enforcing compulsory insurance. Why is it so important? Today, we have this, you see various statistics. It ranges from 12.5% to 20%. But we have about 1 in 8 cars insured. That's just an example.
That's for the full insurance, not third-party insurance.
Both.
Because we have a lot of third-party insurance.
We have a lot of third-party, but as like I said with the MDRI, you have to eradicate fake institutions. Now, because part of the issues with that is that a lot of people don't even know they're carrying fake insurance. Some might know, but I like to believe that they don't know. Right? So part of that is, for example, if you look at hotels, only about 200 hotels have occupiers liability, which is actually, they're supposed to have it as by law. You have group life. If you have more than 3 or 5 employees, you must have group life. Things like that need to be enforced. Of course, the cost of it, the premium, eventually with the competition going on, would benefit the customer at the end of the day.
So you have a clear plan, or the industry looks like it has a clear plan.
Yes.
What is the implementation that we're talking about? You're given a 3-year period of achieving all of this. That's short to medium term.
Yes.
But that's not what a lot of people don't feel that's what the industry needs at this time. They feel that the industry needs something quicker, something sharper, because the potentials are there. And it just seems as if you're staring at gold, but you don't know how to mine it.
Yes.
Why does it seem that way?
Well, I think there have been a lot of things that NICOM has done since 2009, even before that. Of course, the Insurance Act came in 2003. You had the capitalization in 2007, which reduced the number of companies from about 104 to about 58. What you're going to see now is probably going to more consolidation. The life insurance space, for example, is still pretty small. It's still non-life based. Nigeria is close to 80% non-life and largely corporate. Non-life particularly is highly fragmented. What this requires is a concerted effort. Both by what happens, even in economics, perfect competition will tell you that if everyone goes into the same market because of the economic profits, they'll drive down the economic profit to zero. Eventually, the weak ones will leave, or some will be acquired.